Re. Back in those days, there was this malicious and widespread rumor that I was having an affair with Vatsala. The jealousy and those who could not stand by and watch my success were the people who spread the rumor. And the rumor was absolutely true. Some tried to counsel me, questioning whether romance was really necessary for a 10-year-old boy. Shouldn't they have asked the same question of the other boys, too? Just because a girl was a little light-skinned, just because she applied black lines to her eyes and wore her hair in a tight plait secured with a yellow ribbon, didn't give them the right to spout those improper thoughts. The trouble those boys took to try to ensnare her. Little did they know about the sacrifices I had already made. I had stopped wearing dungarees. My father, being a far-sighted man, always brought shorts 2 sizes too large to accommodate my growing stature. I refused to wear them any more. When I took a stand, I never budged. I didn't stop with that. I ventured to do something I had never done before in my 10-year-old life, for the sake of Vatsala. Amma had this habit of holding my cheeks in a vice-like grip when she combed my hair, side-parting it. I decreed a ban on that whole business and began to comb my hair on my own, with center parting. How would these boys know anything about that? Besides, I had one advantage. Vatsala lived in a hut in our compound. Didn't they understand the concept of territorial rights? No one could possibly have a better claim on her than I. Vatsala and her family were migrants, as famine had driven them out of their village. They put up a hut in a corner of our yard and lived there. Vatsala's father earned his living as a cart driver, they told us. They brought with them a broken cart and some odds and ends, all of them of very little consequence. I became acquainted with her while picking berries. When her long skirt was full of berries, we put them in water to check them for worms. I knew that the fruits eaten by worms floated, while the good ones sank to the bottom. She listened to my own discovery with wide-open eyes. No one had ever shared that kind of secret wisdom with her. I was a generous person, even at that age. I gave her all the fruits that came up floating and made her happy. On one such occasion, she told me a secret. Their bull was coming back. It had been taken off the cart-pulling job. Since they found it difficult to maintain the animal, they had sent him to the fields to make manure. She seemed so happy that their bull was returning home, her face lighting up like a jasmine flower that bloomed early in the morning. Retired bulls were taken to the fields and left there. They held on to their lives, feeding on whatever grass or foliage they could find. In return, they contributed generously with their dung and made the fields fertile. As soon as the planting season was over, the bulls were sent back home. This arrangement suited the old bulls of the village very well. I had never before had the opportunity to cultivate the acquaintance of a bull at such close quarters, and the bull was Vatsala's. My heart danced. I didn't know then what hurdles lay ahead for the fulfillment of such simple desires. Uncle Siva lived in the house opposite to ours. He came from a family of musicians and sat in the front veranda of his house and practiced all the time, knowing full well that we were the only listeners he had. Something always drew us to that place. We didn't know much about music, but we stood glued to the spot, listening to him sing. His music had some kind of magic in it. The ragas he sang touched us deeply. It was like watching a huge seabird come down gracefully after it had circled the sky in ever-diminishing circles before landing smoothly with wide-stretched wings. The unfolding of the raga would begin slowly and then gush out in streams like a waterfall. It would proceed to yield many tributaries and spread all around, making unexpected twists and turns, hopping and skipping over in spates. When finally the raga tapered and reached the plains, we would also release the breaths we had held until then, like a sea creature coming up for air. Even after the singing stopped, the music lingered a while in our minds, like a resonant temple bell heard long after it had stopped ringing. Uncle would open his eyes. "What is this raga that makes us so happy?" we asked. "This is Marga Hindolam, a rare raga whose beginning or end can never be fathomed. Even after a lifetime of practice, it is not possible to understand the secrets hidden in the depths of this raga. This is what I love about it," said Uncle. I took hold of Vatsala's hand and dragged her with me. She was so light-footed she never seemed to walk, only float. My heart leapt in joy, though I knew not why. Our village had this special quality. Even after it rained continuously for a couple of days, not a drop of water would be seen stagnating on the ground. The earth sucked up all the water. When you walked with your feet firm on the ground, they felt a soft coolness on them. The earth looked delightful, with lines drawn all over it, like those on a zebra, by water that had trickled over it. Small mushrooms, emerging to take a look at the sun, stood with their umbrellas atop their heads. Almost at the same time, the blood-red tambala insects made their appearance. "Look how beautiful I am," they seemed to say. It was on one such pleasant day that the bull came back. We never expected him so early, and Vatsala called out to me through the window, secretly, shaping the words soundlessly with her mouth. I ran out, eager to meet the bull. The word bull had conjured up visions of a huge animal in me. The sight of this animal shook me. He was all skin and bones. He did not have the energy even to keep his head up, and stood with his head lowered, the loose flesh of his neck almost touching the ground. His back was covered with sores, and his tail was too weak to drive away the flies hanging over the sores. Patches of hair had fallen off his body. In the battle between old age and the bull, old age had won. He dropped tons of dung and a gallon of urine and stood there without achieving much else. Vatsala must have noticed how my face paled. "Hey, what is it? You don't like him?" "Nothing of the sort. The bull looks great. What's his name?" "Rama. Rama." Calling out to him, she touched the loose skin that sagged from his throat. The bull lifted his head and brushed it lovingly against her face. At that moment, I realized that one way into her heart would be to take good care of that animal. "Vatsu, see how beautiful Rama's eyes are." Raman shook his head vigorously, objecting to what I said, the bells around his neck tinkling. The bull might have been emaciated, but his intelligence, I realized, had stayed intact. "Amma? Amma? What is it? You're not yet asleep?" "Amma, what vehicle does the goddess ride on?" "The lion." "Murugan? You know that. It's the peacock." "What is Lord Siva's animal?" "Rishabha, the bull." "Amma!" "What now? That's enough. Go to sleep." "Amma, I don't understand. Murugan has a peacock, which is okay. He can go around the world on adventures. The goddess has a lion. That seems okay, too. The god of death, Yama, has a buffalo. That, too, is very fitting. But Lord Siva, how can he have just a bull?" You must understand that man and animal have a strong bond, going back a long time. The cow gives us milk, and you can plaster a whole house with its dung and make dry dung cakes for fuel. A bull can be yoked to plow or used to pull a cart. Even the animal's hide can be used to make footwear. The oxen family is of great help to man, and that's why, as an act of gratitude, Lord Siva appointed that animal to be his vehicle. What an honor! Amma! Stop nagging me. Go back to sleep, quietly. I could not accept Amma's story. One of Rama's horns had been painted red and the other blue. Did Lord Siva's bull have his horns painted as well? I decided to ask Vatsala the next day. Rama was a placid animal. It was said that he did once have a stately appearance. He had no idea whatsoever of the law of the center of gravity, though. While carting a load of bricks one day, the cart fell on its side. Rama fell down to the ground and hurt his legs, and after that he was never really on his feet. That was the end of his cart-pulling career. Rama roamed around, tottering mostly, not at all worried about where his next meal was coming from. It became our job to find the animal food. There was also no evidence of Vatsala's parents worrying about the problem. Perhaps they thought the animal could live on air. We nurtured Rama with regular supplies of grass and jack-tree leaves. As supplementary nutrition, we also gave him the water left over from cleaning rice. Oil cake and chaff from grains were the food of high-class bovines. Rama was not worthy of that kind of food. A great part of our lives was spent around Rama. At first, I was scared of him, but Vatsala kept encouraging me with suggestions of touch him and feel him. His skin rippled even before I touched him. We waited until he finished his drink of rice water. He drank breathing like a rail engine, and as soon as he impatiently put his head inside the bucket, water bubbles shot up. He would then shake his head vigorously, splashing drops of water all over us. The real problem for Rama was lying down and hauling himself up. Once he decided to lie down, he would fold his forelegs slowly and lower his body. While he was still a couple of feet away from the ground, his strength would give up, and he would suddenly drop to the ground with a thud and fall on his side. Getting up was even more of a torture. The exercise took him a full 5 minutes. Rama was rapidly getting thinner, and there was no sign of the sores on his back healing either. We let him go free and feed on whatever grass was available in our backyard, and we were constantly in attendance. It still looked as if Rama were bent on defeating our efforts. Vatsu, did you know that Lord Siva rides Rishabha, a bull? I know that. God's vehicle is to be respected as much as God. What are we to do? However much we feed Rama, he seems to be getting nearer to his bones by the day. Amma saw me one day attending to the bull and piling up the dung to help Vatsala. She went absolutely wild, and I got a memorable thrashing that day. The people from the slaughterhouse are buying that good-for-nothing bull, and you, my son, are raking its dung? Amma slapped me on my head again with her open palm to drive home her point. But what about Vatsala? She would be devastated when she found out the secret arrangement her family had for Rama. Uncle, you sing different ragas like Kambodi, Todi, and Mohanam for my father. But when you sing by yourself, you sing only one raga. Don't you sing any other raga for yourself? Uncle stared at me for a while. This is not a raga of high stature like Kambodi or Todi. Marga Hindalam is a raga created for the likes of me. It is not an easy raga, and you have to try really hard to master it. But once you master it, the goddess of ragas will become your slave. Uncle sang. The beginning, spread, and expanse of the raga took on a new countenance. It opened and spun garlands and garlands of musical notes, piling them one on top of another. Uncle, what's so special about this raga? Look, the notes of the raga ascend like this: sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa. And they come down in this manner: sa, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, sa. Did you notice that while descending, you dropped the re note? The Rishabha? That's its specialty. I see. But yesterday the same raga sounded different. Why was that? That's its peculiarity. The Manoranjita flower gives you the scent that you imagine in your mind. So too is the nature of this raga. When you sing the raga during your happy moments, it will appear to spread cheer. At other times, it will give the mind a sort of calm and peace. And yet, at other times, it will sound sorrowful. That's its uniqueness. We were with Uncle for quite some time that day. After his improvisation on the raga, he sang a composition and explained to us the meaning of the lyric, going over it, line by line. We listened to him spellbound. At the end of it, we reluctantly left Uncle to his music. I dragged Vatsala away and wanted somehow to give her the news about Rama. He might be sold to the butcher any time. The minute I saw her face, my courage fled. Moreover, on that particular day, our hearts were filled with heavenly music, serenity so complete, the likes of which we had never before experienced. The number of girls in our class was very small. Vatsala always looked clean and tidy, though her people lived in abject poverty. Her dresses were not torn, and she talked freely to others in the class. If she spoke to me, other boys would get eaten up by jealousy. She opened her sewing box, took out a pod of tamarind, and pressed it into my palm and said, "The past 2 days, Rama has not eaten anything. Come and see him, please." Even as she spoke, her eyes brimmed. I said yes, trying not to think about my mother. Was I a doctor of animals? I looked the animal up and down, and it was evident, even to my scant intelligence, that the bull's end was fast approaching. Vatsala slithered silently like a snake and touched me on my back. I turned around. With her body trembling, Vatsala stood with her lips pursed to stop herself from crying. Vatsala's father knew that once the bull was dead, he would get only the price of the animal's hide. But if the animal was sold alive to the slaughterer, he would get paid according to its weight. The next morning, the bull was gone. Vatsala was crushed, and all her natural enthusiasm disappeared. She thought that just as before, Rama had been taken away to fertilize the fields and would be back soon. I did not tell her the truth. "Will they give him chaff and oil cake every day?" "Of course. How could they not? It's just that Rama is very old, and he struggles even to stand up. Will they look after him well?" "They will." Vatsala was not herself any more. She spent her time waiting and watching her front entrance, hoping to see the animal come in at any moment. Many times I toyed with the idea of sharing the secret with her. I never plucked up enough courage to do it, though. The rain had fallen in a torrent, and the ground was soft. It had lined the earth with streaks of red and white. The tambala insects had arrived. The mushrooms were there with their open umbrellas. Vatsala waited outside every day with a pot of rice water. But the bull did not return. Enjoying music in the rainy season is a different kind of experience. The sound could be heard from far away, and the music that sprang from my uncle's throat permeated the 4 directions, effortlessly caressing and thrilling the core of the listener's being again and again. The raga was indeed Marha Hindolam. Like a kolam design drawn on the floor, it spiraled out, expanding from one single small dot. I had not, in my life, listened to such subtle nuances of a raga. I felt a sorrow that melted my heart. When the notes touched the higher octaves, I felt a churning inside me. Vatsala's eyes were glistening too, and in a few more minutes it appeared she might burst into tears. Uncle began to sing the lyrics after expounding the features of the raga elaborately. It is one thing to give yourself up to the magic of music, and it is yet another to savor the meaning of the lyrics. Understanding the intricacies of the music and relishing it is yet another form of appreciation. Wouldn't one feel extraordinary ecstasy if all three aspects were fused together? Uncle's body swayed slightly. He was softly rocking in tandem with the singing of the raga, as if comforting an infant in his arms. "Hey Rama, king of Ayodhya, why are you so indifferent to me? I cannot continue to bear the separation any more." It was as if sage Tyagaraja had composed this Kriti exclusively for us 150 years ago. In a few moments, Uncle's body started to tremble visibly, and tears were streaming from his eyes. I listened intently and noted the scale on its ascent had all the 7 notes. On its descent, only 6 notes. Re, the Rishabha, never returned.